Welcome to the Massacre Matinee.
Ready, set, go.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
It's really enthusiastic for...
Yeah, too enthusiastic for everything that's happened. So it's Black Friday today.
Yes.
So everybody's going to get to see this on Cyber Monday. Although,
Yeah.
is there really a Cyber Monday anymore when Amazon's putting out their Black Friday sales
Black
like
Friday
a week
and
in
Cyber
advance?
Monday are the same things. It's just Black Weekend.
Racially diverse. I learned something over the course of the holiday that I did not know. My stepdad explained to me that the reason why it's called Black Friday is because it's like the business is trying to get their finances in the black before the end of the year.
Yeah. I
never knew that. I'm 31 years old. I
knew
never
that.
fucking knew that. Fuck you.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. So what do we got today? I know you said you had a disclaimer at the start of this one.
Disclaimer, this one talks about a lot of molestations of like kids and stuff, so that's a disclaimer. 2, I did this research a long ass time ago, and it's one of those weird things to where there was a documentary on it. I could not remember the name. I think it's just like what happened at Fells Acres or some shit like that. Couldn't tell you where it's at, but it's a documentary. I do think it was a poorly done documentary because they
Poorly
didn't.
done how?
Their timeline was really bad. So I went by the timeline that the documentary gave me for my research because I couldn't find anything outside of that documentary that didn't really add to it. Like it was just, it's really weird. This case is weird because it's like one of those things where it's like, did this happen? Did this not happen?
So is it like speculation, hearsay kind of stuff, or?
It's speculation, kind of hearsay, and then I'll just kind of like say this now. It's kind of you know how like with the Salem witch trials, how one person kind of started it and then it just kind of became a mass hysteria that like if people were involved, they just kind of started believing that it was true and whatnot. So it was just like group mentality.
Right.
So that's kind of where this comes into place. So like I don't know, it's weird to compare it to the Salem witch trials, but it basically was a witch hunt.
So one person said something and it just kind of became a mass hysteria.
A snowball, yeah.
Okay.
Snowball effect. Fells Acres was a daycare center started by this woman and her 2 kids and everything like that. So it was a family business.
Okay.
It was in Massachusetts. Center opened in 1966. So this wasn't recent at all.
Mm-hmm.
By a woman named Violet. Her 2 kids. It's her daughter Cheryl and her son Gerald. Gerald's like a big part of what happened because he was the one that was accused of everything.
Okay.
So the center was like loved for the community. Like they were open like for almost 20 years at this point before like everything started.
Anything happened.
Yeah. So like this woman was kind of getting like elderly because she was older. Like her kids were obviously fully grown and everything like that when she started this because this was just one of her. She wanted to give back to the community and whatnot, and like it was a really big like factory town and everyone worked in factories and long hours. So she's like, well, no one's here to take care of these kids. I'm gonna take care of them.
Right.
Like really sweet old woman. Like when you watch the documentary, it's so sad what happens to her because she was also like tried and everything. Like the whole family was charged with stuff and whatnot because like they thought they knew what was going on, kind of like hush hush about everything.
Okay.
In 1984, a boy told his family, I'm not going to do names of the kids versus because 1, they didn't give names, and 2, it's a fucking kid.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna like even if the kids were lying, they're kids. Like they're only because a lot of the times, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but like the parents were really the ones.
Small sidestep on that. I do feel like even kids should be held accountable for their words because
yes,
I
but
mean,
these
especially
like the
today,
oldest kid was no more than like 7 at this daycare. So like they're young kids.
When it comes to certain things, because I mean, in this particular case, I'm not going to say it didn't happen, but especially this day and age in 2023, there's a lot of people that are wrongly and falsely accusing
Oh
other
yeah, I
people
think it's
of
become like
molestation.
a more
trend now,
mainstream
and it's
trend and
kinda-
everything. But I think back in the 80s, that was really taboo to talk about and
Right.
to admit that happened and to accuse someone of, like, they never, because you'd have like, oh, that's weird, Uncle Larry, just don't go let your kids go by him kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like a, hey, he's a registered sex offender, because the 80s was really when they started kind of getting more I don't know why I want to say like, proactive and like aggressive about like these people need to be held accountable for what they're doing and whatnot. So I think it was like that movement, and people were also kind of, a lot of murder was happening, a lot of rape and all this kind of stuff was happening in like the 80s and coming off of the 70s, that I think that might have helped feed this, because there's so much crime being media-sized and like talked about now versus in like the 60s and 50s and before. It wasn't really talked about. It just kind of happened, and people just was like, I don't want to deal with that, I just want to like
just hand
work.
motions.
I just want to work my job and eat my food and like go to bed, like. And this boy had said to his mom, I believe he like told his mom like, hey, I got touched by a man while at daycare. I think he was only like 6. And then over the weeks, like after, because obviously like all these parents talk, like it was like a really tight knit community. It was a town kind of similar to the one that we live in.
Okay.
And more children going like, yeah, I was also touched by this man and like had this happen to me and all that. And like it just, some of the children were like, yeah, this man made me pose for pictures and whatnot. That like they were getting nude pictures taken. Like they wanted to pose for pictures. A 4-year-old had like wet himself while sleeping, as some tend to do. They're still kind of
still in the potty training years. As far as I'm concerned, you're in the potty training years up to 5, even if they're fully potty trained.
Oh yeah, because my nephew's still having some issues and whatnot, and like if he's sleeping, sometimes it happens because they're having a hard time controlling their bladder and whatnot. And plus, it's so small.
Well, not only that, but some people they don't have that chemical in their brain that says, "Hey, you need to wake up and go to the bathroom because your bladder's full." So, I mean, some people it's harder than others, but anyway.
So
he wet himself while he was napping.
Yeah, and then the child's teacher told Gerald to like go change because it was a female teacher and she didn't feel comfortable changing. A male boy, a male child, clothes, and asked Gerald he kind of was like the maintenance dude, but he also like helped out wherever he could because it was his mom's facility. So he just kind of.
So it was just like general labor.
So he went and changed the boy into dry clothes and everything like that, and then later, because obviously, like, they always tell the parents if, like, an accident like that happens and whatnot. Later, that boy also was discovered playing, like, sexually suggestive games with his cousin. I think they were playing with, like, fucking Barbies or some shit like that or some kind of thing. It was just, like, making them do stuff that would be sexually orientated.
Smash their
yeah, but like here's the thing, kids just kind of do that.
Yeah,
they don't know why, but like
a child playing will not realize that something is sexual because especially at 4 years old, literally too young to even know what sex is.
Like you can like it's I think people just fucking forget that we're animals and we have instinctual like things. Like you can be doing something and not realize that you're doing it and not know why you're doing it. Like fucking when I was younger, you Barbies, you always had that one if it didn't have a boy Barbie, you had that one dedicated Barbie that was the man in air quotes.
Right.
And like you played.
Exactly.
You're imitating
Use
life.
Your imagination.
Yeah, you're imitating what you see in the real world. Not saying that these kids were watching like their parents, do it or whatnot, but television exists and like things are suggested and like those kids.
I mean, it's not to
pick
discredit necessarily. I mean, if something had happened to him prior to him playing with it, maybe.
Right, and
But
I think that's why they were.
If the thought is them trying to say that Gerald did something in the span of changing his clothes, I'd say that's a stretch because Gerald probably didn't have two Barbies to be able to show him what he was talking about.
Right, so like that's why they were saying like, okay, well, something happened to this kid while he was getting his clothes changed for him to be like, well, now I'm going to recreate it while playing with my cousin.
So in what way was he recreating it?
They never
Or was
really
that
got
not
into it. It's just that he was
'Cause,
playing in a way that could be
everybody's
sexually
done
suggestive.
The now
Mhm.
kiss with the Barbies and they smash their faces
Right.
together. But if he had like two Barbies scissoring, he's got some splaining to do.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Like you see people kissing and you're like, oh yeah, that's just normal. Like, until a kid is told, this isn't right, you shouldn't be like playing like this, they don't fucking know.
They're just playing.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously they see this and like a parent probably freaks out because, you know, all these other kids came out going like, oh yeah, they've been molested. The kid like is crying after being like interrogated and was just like, yeah, he touched me. So,
but did they say, did Gerald touch you? Like, did they call they call it leading the witness. And especially with a child, when they're scared, they're just going to agree with whatever they can.
We'll get into that because that's a big part of this whole case. So, Gerald was arrested on this boy, not because of the fact that he was the one that changed his. See, this isn't the first kid, though, that said that he was getting touched. Because at this point, they were just like a man. They weren't naming people. This was the first kid to actually name Gerald, so they didn't know who was doing it at this point. This is why it's like weird. Like, it took how many kids coming out like, oh yeah, I got touched at daycare, and like there's only like 3 guys that work at this daycare, and they couldn't just be like, well, which one of you is it? Like, so Gerald was charged with molesting more children because obviously more and more were coming out and everything like that. Charges were brought against his mother and sister for basically, I think they got like child neglect charges because they were trying to say like, oh, you knew that this was happening,
they allowed
but
it to happen.
1986, Gerald was convicted of assaulting and raping 9 children and was sentenced to 30 and 40 years in prison.
Okay.
In 1987, a separate trial was held for his mother and sister and were convicted of similar crimes against 4 children, and they were both sentenced to 8 to 20 years.
Similar, like, did they get the child neglect charges?
Child neglect, I think there was child endangerment. Endangerment. Holy fuck, I can speak. I don't think
it's been a long week. It's okay.
I don't think they were charged with like molesting. Actually, I think the mom was, not the sister. Like, I think there was one kid that said
with endangerment and stuff, or the mom was charged with the molestation.
I think she had one molestation charge just because of the fact I think one kid named her. Again, this has been a hot minute. Obviously, with like a trial happening, they went and interviewed all of the kids that came forward and everything like that.
Makes sense.
The interviews claimed that the children were raped with like knives, sticks, forks, and quote unquote magic wands, which I think were just
Mommy's little helper.
Yeah. Mommy's little helper. And that they were assaulted by a clown. Gerald would sometimes dress up as a clown to entertain the kids at the daycare if it was like the fair in town and shit like that. But that was allegedly Gerald. That they also had a secret room and a quote-unquote magic room where they were forced to drink urine and were tied naked to a tree and like do other kind of sexual acts and everything like that. Like, this is all coming from the kids.
Magic room with a tree in it.
Yeah.
Any tree you can fit indoors can typically be pulled over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
So now you're right? A bulk of the interviews were done by the parents and social workers.
That's okay, so that's not legally admissible in the trial. It shouldn't be.
I think the interviews of like what happened, I think this was leading up to him getting arrested.
Oh,
So I think this was
so it
the
was like
community was getting
little
evidence
Johnny
to
told
go.
me a week ago that he was getting molested too, but I told him that it was nonsense and Gerald was a nice guy kind of thing.
It's more so the fact that I think it turned into like all the parents getting really like, because that was a high paranoia time, and I think they were all like, okay, well, we gotta get all this evidence together so we can go to the police and get this monster taken down and everything
Right.
like that. And social workers and then a nurse named Susan also did some of the interviews because she worked at the daycare, I believe. The children... Oh, wait, no, she didn't. I read the wrong line.
Susan did not work.
Susan was just like, I think she was a nurse that was there to get physical evidence.
Okay.
The children told Kelly repeatedly that nothing had actually happened to them and that there was no secret room and that there was no clown and that their parents were like, hey, you gotta say this and whatnot, and that they were pestered and they were just trying to tell their parents what they wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But between the nurse and the social workers, like, constantly talking to them, like, kids later redacted those statements and were like, no, he actually did. I'm just lying. But they found no physical evidence. They never found the pictures that were supposedly taken. They never found that secret room. Like, they found no physical evidence that this actually happened, that he was actually, like, hurting these children or any kind of thing like that.
Okay.
But he still was convicted. On October 1992, Violet and Cheryl's, which is the mother and the
mom
sister.
and the sister, yep.
The sentences were reduced by their original judge because they were like, okay, well, maybe they didn't have so much to do with it.
Okay.
But the Massachusetts Supreme Court revised their ruling in 1993, so then they had to go back to the original sentences.
So they went from getting shorter time to, no, never mind, we're joking, you still got to serve the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in 1995, after serving 8 years, Violet and Cheryl were freed on a appeal. Like, they finally got their appeal and everything like that.
And they could have had absolutely nothing to do with the case, and they still had to sit 8 years.
Yeah. A Superior Court judge named Robert ruled that their conviction were wrong because they were not able to directly confront their abusers. The children had their backs to them. That
So
was like
they
a weird...
Did they bring them into the courtroom and tell them turn around?
Oh, not abusers, accusers. So, yeah, they basically, like, the children were... It was, like, the weird thing. So, like, you know how, like, in court you have to be able to face the person that's accusing you of, like, said crime?
Right.
Well, because of the fact that they didn't want the children to, like, look at them and, like, relive, like, traumatic experience or whatnot, and, like, the kids were the ones that were accusing, like, that technically was a loophole for them to get the appeal.
There was also no physical or any kind of evidence against
but
the
when
two
Gerald
of them
tried to do...
for the neglect or anything like that either, and it's supposed to be innocent.
I don't know
until
how the
proven
fuck they
guilty.
got to sentencing with that, though.
Because they got the general public so
Yeah.
heated that they knew that if they didn't get a guilty ruling on them, the general public would have issue.
Gerald tried to do the same appeal, and he was denied in 95. In 97...
So wait, he tried to use the same
Well, yeah, like, he could...
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was denied.
Okay.
And then the Superior Court reinstated both of the women's convictions in 1997, citing the need for finality. So they went from having it appealed...
So they
to
sat
being
for 8
free.
years, got out, and then had to go back in?
Yes. Kind of. I think it was weird. Like, they kept flip-flopping. In May 1997, another Superior Court judge granted the women separate motions for new trials. They wanted to get retried. The judge ruled that the children's interrogations were so tainted by grave errors that the investigation process that they conducted could not be used as evidence in the new trials.
Okay. And this all happened 13 years prior.
Post.
sorry. The whole incident happened.
Oh, yes.
13
Yeah.
years prior to
And
this.
there's and then before she ever saw her new trial, Violet passed away in 1997 from
and
cancer.
Violet was the mother?
She was dealing with cancer with all this happening.
So she's already dying and you want her to sit in jail?
Yeah, so she got diagnosed while she was in jail. She lost her business, she lost her reputation and everything like that. She had all this hope because she got appealed and then they put it back.
A broken woman.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you feel awful.
Oh, yeah. And then in 1999, after going through the new trial and being found not, before the new trial and everything like that, Cheryl's was again reinstated for her conviction. Conviction. And then the next month rejected her request for a new trial. So she got fucked over. She was expected to go back to prison at this point after being free for...
At that point, she had been free for a couple of years.
Yeah. I think it was like 5 years or something like that. October 1999, the new district attorney reached a agreement with the defense. I believe this was for Cheryl. Dropped all efforts to clear her name and to avoid going to prison. So basically, she was like, "Hey, just take the guilty verdict, but you won't do prison time." Cheryl agreed to 10 years probation, and also to never talk about the case, so she was never interviewed or any kind of thing like that.
They wanted to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, she couldn't contact any of the victims' families. She could have no unsupervised contact with any children. She couldn't profit in any way from her trial and imprisonment. So basically, she had to act like this never fucking happened, and she couldn't have kids, essentially, because she can't be alone with kids.
Boy, if that doesn't say shady, I don't know what does.
The Massachusetts Parole Board recommended the communication of Gerald's sentence. And then in 2002, the governor at the time rejected the decision for his sentence to be ended and thrown out. 2004, April 30th, Gerald's finally released from prison.
20 years later.
20 years later. November 20th, 2022, the ongoing governor wanted to pardon Cheryl and Gerald due to the grave doubt regarding the
Evidentiary strength.
of their convictions. The recommendations required approval by the governor's council, and it did not have enough support and was dropped in December 2022.
Okay, so they got accused of some shit. 20 years later, the main person that was accused finally got released, and 20 years after that,
You couldn't get the pardon that...
I feel like Violet should have gotten a postmortem pardon.
Yeah,
At the very least. She was just
died
trying to run a
thinking
business.
That she was a felon. She died thinking that she was a criminal and all of this kind of stuff.
For doing nothing wrong.
For doing
she
literally
was
nothing
just trying
wrong.
to run a business and support the community and offer cheap daycare, which is a huge thing because in the 80s,
and she did
women
a
were
whole
starting
little
to get
school
more into the workforce.
If you can find the
documentary.
The documentary on it, I recommend watching it because it starts off and they're talking so highly of this family and and everything like that. Everyone in the community loved them, loved everything, but it's just the fact that I think Gerald might have had one kind of past conviction where he I think he just had a DUI or some shit like that, nothing big. Not saying a DUI is not big, but it's nothing.
It wasn't on the scale of rape or murder.
No, he didn't assault anyone. He just made a dumb choice. But it just took one kid to be oh, this person touched me, and then one mom to find out that a man changed her son. Because imagine if it was just a woman that was getting accused,
right.
And be well, I was just doing my job. But it's the fact that it was a man doing it that...
I really feel that in the 2022 attempt to pardon Gerald and Cheryl,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they should have made an effort to track down the now adult victims.
Yeah, 'cause they're
and
in
be
their
like, hey,
These
like,
victims are like in their
can you do me a favor and
30s
tell
and
me if this
40s.
actually happened? Because, like, there's
Mhm.
people that probably wanted Gerald to see the news just after the accusations, even if he had nothing to do with it.
right. We're gonna play the game. All right, we're playing the game. Emerald? Is that Emerald?
MRO.
Yeah.
LT, if it is French, LT tends to be
Dude, me and French words
O.
make no sense.
Like one of the racing companies for F1 is Renault, but it's spelled AULT.
Oh, did he pass away?
Jerry
No, that's not the right one. How can you make a statement in 2022 when that said that he
Well, it was kind of a short episode today, and it's going to be one more short one next week, and then we're going to start rolling out a little bit more. Still kind of around this crazy holiday time too, so
Mm-hmm.
the quality, I'm going to try and maintain the best quality that I can on these episodes.
Yeah.
But it's hard around the holidays, and we're gonna make it through the rest of 2023, but starting fresh for 2024, we're gonna start going into trying to do a little bit more deep dives as often as possible,
Mhm.
possibly two-parter episodes that have like everything, like the backstory and then the incident and the trial type stuff separated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we do those, then you're gonna have to kind of be okay with some shorter episodes in between for those.
Yes, the deep
'Cause-
dives do take significantly longer to research.
Mhm.
On average, if you're listening to 2 hours worth of content on our podcast, you're probably listening to 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes upwards of a month of research. Yeah, so we're gonna keep on keeping on, keep on chugging along, and finish out 2023 strong and start fresh on 2024.
Yes.
That does include, there are going to be some bits and pieces bonus episodes that are going to come into play starting in 2024. I didn't want to start doing this kind of stuff when we started the podcast, because we did start the podcast like halfway through the year.
Right.
So starting fresh in 2024, if it's a holiday, it's probably going to have some sort of related episode. Like Valentine's Day is going to have Valentine's Massacre.
Oh my God,
and
so many to fucking pick from Valentine's Day.
and that's what's going to help us keep going for the future too.
Mhm.
So if it's a holiday, we're going to find a holiday themed massacre and make sure that
It's
ends up
kind
out
of
there too.
fucked how there's so many that go around.
It's very
holidays.
fucked. It's very fucked, but you know what? We'll make the best of
Mhm.
it. Entertain the masses. All 21 Spotify followers and however many people are actually listening.
Hey,
Unfortunately, the analytics actually only show me who's following on Spotify, but with as many services as we are
I'm sure there's
available on, we'll probably have
more.
more. We probably have more. We'll do a link to a Google poll down in the description and
Yeah.
let us know what service you listen on and how you found us.
Mhm.
Because I should be able to do an and why option or any additional comments.
I think you could do a comment.
Perfect. So we'll see you guys next week for the matinee. And I
Yeah.
apologize, by the way, for accidentally posting last week's episode at midnight instead of at noon for the matinee.
We're at
I
work.
just want to say
And I get a text
I was
message,
exhausted.
and all I hear is, "Oh wait, no, we weren't at work. That was when
No,
I
we
wasn't at
were-
work."
No, I was at work. You weren't. And
Oh yeah, I had one day off. I
it was
deer
Monday.
hunting.
You were in the deer blind, and I texted this bitch at like 5:42 or some shit. Was like,
She's
no.
like, "Bitch, you posted it at midnight," and I'm just sitting there trying to laugh. I didn't have like deer hunting yet
Yeah,
when this
well,
post.
not everybody's built for murder.
Well, you know what?
That's why you're on this side of the microphone.
Some of these fucking turkeys, I had 40
Oh,
turkeys come in. I wish I could have taken them. It would have been nice. Had a nice fresh turkey that I didn't have to defrost for Thanksgiving.
Well, our Spotify listeners can let us know down below. Did you have any luck with your hunt?
Yeah.
Because,
if
I
you're
mean,
a
we've
hunter.
still got a weekend left, I think.
We have until the 30th.
Yes, so we've got a weekend left.
Yeah.
Little over a weekend left. Let us know how your hunt went. Did you get your deer? Your
Yeah.
deers? We're going for Spike.
Oh, God. I hope. I'm going to go sit tomorrow. I'm going to sit this weekend.
Right on, right on.
It's
Well, we'll
last
see you
weekend
guys next week for the return of the matinee.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.